What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis, including your money, investing, the stock market, inflation, the next stimulus package, everything going on here. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos. First, we'll hear directly from the White House on multiple different issues: gas prices, inflation, and the Fed, which is going to be raising interest rates here this probably this upcoming week here. They're expected to raise interest rates by probably 0.75%, but it could be as high as 1% here. And yeah, this is to help curb inflation, but it's going to hurt a lot of people's pocketbooks here in the meantime. And then we'll go over multiple different states here that are giving stimulus checks, and more states that are pushing for more stimulus here in this video. So here we go. Here's the White House. Check this out.
President Biden met virtually with his economic team earlier today to discuss steps to ease consumers' pain at the pump. Our next guest was part of that meeting. Let's welcome Cecilia Rouse. She's the chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Chair Rouse, we're so grateful for your time tonight. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
You briefed the president today. What were the top lines of that meeting? What did you tell him about the state of the economy, the possibility of a recession, and how long gas prices can keep falling?
So the purpose of the meeting was to brief the president on gas prices and the efforts of the administration to do what it can to address them. So the first piece of business was to really highlight how over the last 38 days we've seen a decrease in gas prices, and that the modal, so that means most gas stations are charging under $4 a gallon. So that's important. But we also know that prices are not low enough. So the most important way to bring down gas prices is to get more oil on the market. So the president has done that through the historic release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We talked about how we've been able to execute that in a way that many people did not anticipate. Many were skeptical, but we've actually managed to do that. That has been contributing, working with our partners around the globe for their strategic petroleum reserves as well. It's why the president welcomed the OPEC+'s decision to increase production. It's while he was in the Middle East. He was also briefed on the progress in helping the EU consider a cap on a gas ban. If they have a price cap on the oil that Russia would receive. And also an update on the conversations that Secretary Granholm has been having with leaders in the oil industry.
We know that a lot of this is a wait-and-see mode until that August 3rd OPEC Plus meeting. But I'm wondering, in the meantime, gas prices have been falling because people have been fearing a recession, that people will stop spending, they'll stop traveling, and that demand will pull back. CEA put out a blog post this week, which I'd love to get your thoughts on, because it sought to demystify the definition of a recession, which is, in its most basic form, 2 quarters of negative growth. You say that that's not the case in that blog post, but I'm wondering, is that blog post out there because you're expecting a negative print next week?
So we put out the blog post that the Council of Economic Advisors is designed to give objective advice to the president and to help educate the public and others about economic concepts. And we wanted people to understand that while, so colloquially, we may think of a recession as 2 negative quarters of growth, the National Bureau of Economic Research Business Dating Committee actually officially dates recessions. And when they look at the economy, they look at a broad number of measures. They're looking for broad indications of slowdown across the economy. And 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, while very important, and they would take note, is not dispositive. Importantly, they put a lot of weight on employment. And we know from our prior employment report that employment has been growing in the first half of this year. In fact, over the past first half of this year, we've had over 1 million jobs added to our economy. They look at consumption, personal consumption, and we know the personal consumption expenditures have been growing in the first and second quarters of this year. They look at personal income. We know that's been growing. We look at industrial production. That has been growing as well. So
Inflation, though, has started to eat into some of that consumption, as I think you noted. And one of the ways the administration has been seeking to fight inflation is possibly to consider lowering or rolling back some tariffs. JP Morgan says that would only help by about a fraction of a percent. But when you're crunching these numbers for the president, what's your view on whether that would actually have a material impact?
So first of all, the consumption expenditures have been adjusted for inflation. So we are seeing real continued economic activity even as we face inflation, which is understandably it's too high. It's why the president is giving the Federal Reserve the space that it needs to do its work. So the president is considering the tariffs and the impact that they would have on inflation. They're also in a geopolitical context. He's considering that. I think most estimates are that the kind of tariffs that would be strategically addressed would have some impact, would not completely address our inflationary pressures. Look, it's the Federal Reserve's responsibility to really be focused on price stability and maximum employment. The president is doing what he can as well. That's why he's focused on gasoline prices to get more production on the market. It's why even in the longer term and medium term even, he's focused on increasing the economic capacity of our economy, because that is how we absorb the kinds of shocks that we've absorbed with this pandemic and now Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So he wants to build a kind of economy where we have that kind of productive capacity. But, in the near term, it's the Federal Reserve. He's giving them the space to do what they need to do.
Well, President Biden has also said that he expects to speak with China's President Xi within the next 10 days. Do you expect there will be a tariff decision before that conversation happens?
I'm not going to speak to timing. This is a complicated conversation that he will have with Xi. But what I will say is that the president looks at the geopolitical context. These are complicated times, but he is really focused on maintaining the U.S.'s strategic strength. He is focused on reducing gas prices. He understands the impact of inflation, and he's doing what he can to help there.
You mentioned the Federal Reserve and its role in fighting inflation through raising interest rates. In the last couple of months, at least two Fed governors have suggested that the Fed should have moved faster in hindsight. Do you wish that the Fed had begun pulling back its asset purchases, begun raising interest rates earlier so that they're not trying to slam on the brakes right now?
So I don't want to comment on the Federal Reserve policymaking. We respect their independence. What I will say is that the U.S. economy grew faster last year than it had in 40 years, that, as I just mentioned, we've got a strong labor market. We see consumer expenditures continue to be relatively robust. We see income remains high. We see industrial production is high, which means that our economy has got the headroom to be able to withstand the Federal Reserve's actions that it needs to take to bring down inflation and to withstand the challenges that are brought on by Putin's war against Ukraine. So I understand these are going to be challenging times ahead. I do not have a crystal ball. But what I do know is that our economy is well positioned to muddle through and to power through as the Federal Reserve does what it needs to do.
Yeah, so you can see here, we're in a tough spot economically. And with inflation and all these different reasons, we're probably headed for a new report that is going to show GDP went down for a second quarter in a row, which will mean we're officially in a recession. We've already had several major analysts and several major banks say they think we're already in a recession. Several other indicators kind of show we're in a recession. It really depends on what type of indicator you're looking at. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. It really depends. The problem here is that we're seeing job growth, and we're seeing unemployment go down, which if you just looked at that, you might say, hey, the economy's doing good. The problem here is inflation is taking all that away. And for people that are retired, for people that are on fixed income, for people that are on disability, for children and for families and for everybody else, that's completely ravaging them. And for people that are working and haven't got a raise or have gotten a raise that's less than inflation, which is at 9.1% here for the last reading, they're actually losing out to inflation. And probably most people have not gotten a 9% raise here recently. That's a pretty big number. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really a tough situation right now. And this really all kind of ties into with the war in Ukraine that has helped raise gas prices, that has helped raise food prices all around the world. We're seeing all-time high of food prices everywhere in the US, all around the world. We had just recently hit all-time high of gas prices. They're now down for almost like 40 days in a row now. But will that continue? At the drop of a dime, literally, gas prices can turn around here at any given moment. And while really gas prices are not down anywhere near low enough, they're still pretty decently high. It's nice to see a little bit of relief, but yeah, we really could use a lot more here. We are seeing a lot of states here pass state stimulus checks, tax rebate checks, and child tax credit checks on the state level, and all sorts of different state type of relief here. And hopefully, we're going to see even more here. So from the federal level here as well. Here's kind of the latest updates here for this. Yeah, there was $26 billion. 26 billion. That's a lot. In child tax credits and more refundable filing errors has led to IRS to test virtual visits. Here's the details on this. In an effort to reduce the amount of improper claims and other tax benefit errors, the IRS is being advised to test and assess the viability of video conferencing to educate tax preparers and conduct reviews to ensure they're complying with the tax laws. According to a report from the Government Accountability Office, also known as the GAO, knock and talk visits focused on education and conduct in person, and due diligence visits focused on compliance and done in person or by telephone have steeply declined due to the pandemic. The IRS conducts the visits as part of its refundable credits return preparer strategy. The report recommends testing the use of video conferencing to compensate for reduced visits and compliance reviews in 2021 and 2022 due to the pandemic. The IRS finds the benefits outweigh the cost. The GAO proposes the implementation of video conferencing as a mean to expand tax preparer education and compliance visits. They say without this, the IRS will remain limited in its efforts to address preparer noncompliance. The IRS says that in the fiscal year of 2021, 23% of payments made by the IRS to taxpayers filing for refundable tax credits were done in error, costing the agency approximately $26 billion, according to the IRS. This is through programs, all sorts of different programs like the Earned Income Tax Credit, the Adult Tax Credit, the American Opportunity Tax Credit, the Additional Child Tax Credits, professional tax preparers, all sorts of different type of credits. Now, if the IRS figures out these errors for any specific taxpayer or when they do, they can claim that back. They can claw that back, though. So be aware of that. So it's always best when you do file your taxes to try to get them right. So just be aware of that. If you made an error, it is what it is. If it's an honest mistake, so just it is what it is, right? Next up, an update on stimulus checks for Pennsylvanians. Here is where direct relief stands for now. Democratic Governor Tom Wolf has advocated for his Republican led General Assembly. The House and Senate from Pennsylvania is controlled by Republicans, even though he's a Democrat. He has advocated for them to pass legislation that would send $2,000 stimulus checks to Pennsylvanians. But after months of pushing for direct payments, his plans have reportedly been stalled. The governor made a $1.7 billion proposal back in February. Part of the proposal was direct payments to many Pennsylvanians making $80,000 or less. Though Republicans are just sitting on the funds, part of the American Rescue Plan. This is from PennLive.com, PennsylvaniaLive.com. I'm talking about $2 billion that's sitting in a checking account out in Harrisburg that if we don't use it by the end of 2024, we have to send it back to Washington. Do you want that? I don't. Wolf recently said, also acknowledging that the payments would help with rising inflation, CBS Pittsburgh reported back in June. According to the Morning Call, Republicans have been largely against the proposal, even after the House and Senate presented two different bills in support of Wolf's proposal. Jason Goetzman, a House Republican spokesman, said that more direct relief would cause more inflation woes, even though this money is stimulus money that is supposed to go out to help the people. He says, quote, we need to make sure that we are spending in strategic areas and making smarter investments in Pennsylvania. We need to make sure that we are saving that money to deal with these future economic uncertainties, and we're returning taxpayer investments into the Commonwealth. All right. Though Wolf previously said in a statement the state budget should be able to aid Pennsylvanians in their financial struggles instead of sitting on $2.2 billion. We also had Florida recently announced that nearly 60,000 Florida families will receive one-time payments of $450 per child to offset the cost of rising inflation, especially with a new school year approaching, according to a letter from Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. To qualify, families must receive the TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, also known as welfare, be a foster parent or a relative of a non be or a relative or a non-relative caregiver, or participate in the guardian assistance program. You don't need to apply for the benefit. It will be automatically mailed out to eligible recipients. Checks should arrive in time for Florida's back-to-school sales tax holiday, being held between July 25th and August 7th. The state of Illinois has checks coming out here soon. Their estimated $1.83 billion relief package, which went into effect July 1st, includes multiple different things. It includes income and property tax rebates, a temporary cut in several sales tax. Individuals who earn less than $200,000 in 2021 will receive a $50 income tax rebate. That's per adult. Married filing jointly couples will receive $100. Filers with dependents will receive $100 per dependent, as you can see here, up to 3 dependents. So you can get up to $400 here total there. You also can get up to $300 in property tax rebates for a total of up to $700 there in total for that. As you can see here, they also have several sales tax cuts there as well. They expect to start cutting checks the week of September 12th. There's also several tax holidays and rebates, a suspension of the state 1% sales tax on groceries starting July 1st through June 30th, 2023. So that's like a whole year. Sales tax for qualified clothing and school supplies will be reduced from 6.25% to 1.25% from August 5th through the 14th. A permanent expansion of the earned income tax credit from 18% to 20% of the federal credit. That's known as the adult tax credit. The property tax rebates, as I mentioned, for homeowners earning less than 250,000 or 500,000 if filing jointly, you can earn up to $300 there. Yeah, and I'll have some more states for you guys here in the next video, as there's a lot coming out here on a daily basis. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click the bell icon down below after you subscribe to get notifications when we go live here with new videos. Also, you can click the share button down below to share this video with friends and family, share them with the channel so that they can join our extended family here on YouTube and become a subscriber. Don't miss out on any new videos here at this point. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country that you need to know about. You can click here to watch my newest video next. Or you can click here to see a bill that was just passed that even Joe Biden couldn't believe the details of. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.